Always a daunting experience when you're playing in front of people in a rock band. Well, how about playing your biggest ever gig as a band to date? In this documentary, we're going to follow around the Dirty Mutts, a band that was first formed in Derby, currently living in Manchester and about to play their first gig at Factory 251 in only a few weeks, a venue notorious on the Manchester gig circuit for its size and prestige. Some of Manchester's most famous bands, such as Joy Division, have played there, and even now, Peter Hook, the band's bassist, is a part owner.
Hi CJ, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, alright, man. What instrument do you play for the band, man?
I currently play bass in the band.
Oh, really? How did you come about playing that instrument?
Kind of fell into it, I guess. I was originally a guitarist. Have been for sort of since I was about, I don't know, 12, 13 maybe.
Yeah.
And I was always playing guitar and just got in a band a few years back, and originally was a guitarist in the band, and then we had so many guitarists in our band, we ended up with five members of the band that were all originally guitarists. And we basically decided that we needed to kind of cut it back, and it wasn't going in the right sort of direction musically. Oh, right. So we decided we were going to cut it back to a three-piece. Yeah. And obviously within a three-piece you only need one guitarist and one bassist. So,
yeah, of course.
And yeah, Harv being a better guitarist than me, he stuck on bass, stuck on guitar and I went on bass. So.
What, so you think you're the best guitarist?
No, he's a lot better than me. I'll happily admit that.
Alright, Harv, man, how are you today, man?
I'm very well, living nervous.
Alright, what instrument do you play, dude?
I play lead guitar and vocals.
How did you come about playing guitar, man? And obviously being the lead vocalist.
Well, playing guitar, my first guitar was given to me for my 14th birthday by my mother. I have still no idea why. I just got one. Didn't really start playing it, just played, like, learnt James Bond and a couple of things, smoking the water, the standard things. And then got together with a few friends around 16.
Yeah.
And then around 18 I started playing seriously, and then it became sort of an obsession beyond that. Yeah. Vocals were a natural progression, I guess, of playing guitar. Once you start learning covers, things like that. The first thing I learnt to play and sing at the same time was Eagle Eye Cherry, Save Tonight. Yeah. And because it takes ages to sort of figure out to do both.
Yeah.
But once you get that, it's addictive.
Are you looking forward to the gig? What fancy the most about playing in front of a live audience?
I am looking forward to the gig for a couple of reasons. I want to see how we perform now after practicing quite a lot. And we're pretty much at the stage where we're ready for a gig like this. Yeah. Frightened, yes. I don't want to swear, but I don't want to mess up.
That's your biggest gig, right?
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
I mean, we've played two gigs that were, in terms of the size of the venue, we played one over last summer that was probably a bigger venue. And there was probably 100 odd at least that turned up. Oh. So, you know, that one was a pretty big one. And we also played one last year that was at a place called the Thirsty Scholar in Manchester, which was absolutely packed out that night, and I think the capacity did about 150. Ooh. So we've played those two that were pretty big. So I mean,
roof came off.
Yeah. So in terms of tonight, I'm not sure if it's our absolute biggest in terms of people turning up, but in terms of the promotion and, you know, all that, like, I think it's definitely our biggest gig.
Well, everybody sort of knows about Factory, don't they?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Like, it's a very well-known venue within Manchester.
To say you played there is it's
pretty good. Yeah, there's been some pretty big bands play there. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's frightening you the most about playing in front of an audience?
It's just the chance of, you know, on a live take you only have one chance to get it right. You know, it's like, it's not like you can just say, oh, stop, you know, we did that wrong, we're gonna, you know, carry on. It's literally you have one chance to get it right, and you know, that's frightening.
Siege, how did you get the gig? Do you always get the gigs? Do you always get the gigs for the band?
Yeah, I'm chief organiser. There's basically, like I say, there's two of us who set up the band, and we both have sort of differing roles in the band. I'm essentially organiser, do all that side of it, promoting us and trying to get, you know, everything sorted. For example, whenever we when we went to record our EP and things like that, it was all that side of it was done by me, and we kind of focus more on what Harv wants as the band's direction, because he's musically better, like more talented than myself.
I mean, how did you get the big one, the big gig that you're playing?
This one we're playing at Factory. Basically, it was just through promotion companies in Manchester that we registered the band with, and essentially they listen to your music. You have to kind of send in an EP or whatever, like some form of your music. You have to get across to them. And if they like you, basically they put you on a list of bands that they will promote, and so on and so on. And we got on one of those lists and got offered various dates, and this is basically the first and the biggest one of them.
The building was the former headquarters of the iconic Factory record label. After the legendary label, which had artists such as Joy Division, The Happy Mondays and New Order had become defunct, it was sold, and in 1993 it became the Paradise Factory Club. The Paradise Factory Club was closed and the building spent years with no use, but in 2008 it was reopened again and renamed the club, also known as Paradise Factory. Since then, it has been hosting live gigs and party events regularly, and in doing so successfully reigniting this buzzing music hub in Manchester.
Alright dudes, who's influenced you the most as a guitarist and as a vocalist actually, and what kind of genre would you say you guys play as a band?
As a genre, it's rock with an indie flavour, I'd say.
Yeah.
We are on the heavier side at the moment, being a three-piece and everything.
Yeah.
Influences, we've all got a bunch of different influences.
Yeah.
As a lead guitarist, you just got to take the classics basically. Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Slash. You know, they've all got their own techniques, their own different way.
Yeah.
Self-taught musicians are always a bit more quirky as well, I guess. So that always helped me in confidence.
Yeah.
Vocals, anything that stands out, anything that's original. Nirvana, Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
You know, you can't replicate some things like that.
Yeah.
So anything just with originality, I guess.
Alright CJ man, who's influenced you the most?
Who has influenced us the most?
Yeah. Actually, you know what, who's influenced you the most, and then tell me who's influenced you the band. As a band the most?
Okay. Me personally, I don't know really, like I kind of grew up on like just loads and loads of different stuff really. I was listening to some things that I wouldn't even care to admit that I used to listen to.
Would you not be able to fill us in on that?
Nah, there's like when I first, I have to admit, when I first started learning guitar, like obviously like Oasis, which is still one of my like favourite bands.
Yeah.
And I consider that like I try and play sort of similar to that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was also listening to things like Fall Out Boy and like, you know, a bit more like punk stuff, sort of like Blink 182 and things like that. Yeah. And like I still think Blink are absolutely class, so like that's all good. But there was a few others that were a little bit questionable. But it was all things that kind of inspired.
Care to share that with us?
Just you know, so basically things like Fall Out Boy, like Panic at the Disco, things like that. You know.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all that sort of stuff.
Alright.
But as a band, I think like we've all got different musical influences, so like they've all kind of merged together. I mean, like Harv likes things that are like full on like rock, you know, like absolutely in your face kind of rock and stuff, and James is a little bit different. Like he's kind of, you know, he likes all that stuff, but he also likes like hip hop and things like that.
Yeah. Alright, well, now why the three-piece band? I mean, you were telling me before the cameras rolled, and you kind of touched on it in another question, that you had 5 members in the band.
Yeah.
What happened with those guys? What do you prefer? Do you prefer playing in a three-piece?
I think the reason that it changed was just we kind of felt as a band, well, I say as a band, as myself and the founding member of the band, felt that we weren't going quite the way, like the musical direction that we wanted to go. Yeah. In terms of like when we set the band up originally, it was kind of like we had an idea of what we wanted, and we'd kind of gone away from that.
What was that one thing that you wanted that was going away?
It was just the kind of music really that we wanted to play. Like I think both of us kind of grew up on sort of, you know, rock and roll and that sort of stuff, and like that was definitely what we were kind of leaning to.
Yeah.
Although obviously we do have sort of indie influences in our band as well.
Okay.
But I think that we had sort of, by going to a 5-piece and having, you know, we had 3 guitarists going on like on stage, and it was getting a bit to the point where it was just ridiculous. You don't need that amount of guitars.
Have you guys had a gig this big in the past? Do you usually practice this much before a gig, or do you a bit more laissez-faire about things, sort of just chilled out, go in?
This is the most we've practiced for a gig, probably because of the venue.
Yeah.
And the importance of it. We've had a couple of gigs in the past. We're averaging about a gig a year at the moment. It's been quite slow, but it's just been the formation and practicing and writing. You know, it's been the sort of laying the foundations. This one, we're a lot more prepared.
Yeah.
I feel a lot more ready for this.